Hi, I'm Shelley Jones. Welcome to Learning Math with Dr. Jones. Our Facebook group will post a daily math lesson Monday through Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time throughout the month of August. All right, so let's see. Convert the percent to a fraction. Oh, all right, well, I already made it a fraction. All right, so 13% means 13 over 100, 13 hundredths. So I guess that's pretty simple. And if you wanted to, I guess you could reduce that if it needs to be simplified. So now I want to make that a decimal. Okay, so 13 hundredths is 0.10 hundredths. So that's just the 13, okay? So it's interesting that I wrote the two little lines just to remind myself tenths, hundredths. If you need to do that, then do that, because I know that I need to do that. So this one is 2.4%, right? So one of the things I noticed right away is, all right, never mind, let's just keep going. So 2.4%. So if I have this one, 2.4, what I'm going to do, though, is because it's a decimal, remember I said in order to make it out of 100, sometimes the numerator needs to be a decimal. But for me, I need to get that decimal out of there so that when I write it as a decimal, I need to get that decimal point out of there so that when I write it out as a decimal, it's easier for me. So for this particular case, thanks, you can see the red, I'm glad. So for this particular case, if I multiply both of these things by 10, then I have 24 over 1,000. That's a lot easier for me to write as just a decimal, no longer a decimal fraction, but just as a decimal. So in that case, I have 0.10 hundredths thousand. So I have my 24, but I need a 0 in front of the 24. And in order to make the 24 go to the thousandths place with a TH. When you're writing your numbers, don't forget that TH. So here I had 2.4 over 100. I multiplied the numerator and denominator by 10 so that I could have 24 thousandths and easily write that as a decimal. All right, this is the one that I wanted to mention. 140%, 140%. So when you have 100% of something, you have the whole thing. So 140% is already telling me that I have at least one whole thing of something, okay? So what I'm going to do is, let's see, 140%, 140 over 100 would make it 1.40, because look, I have one whole thing plus 40 more percent. 40% is tenths, hundredths, 40 hundredths. So that's like saying I have one whole and 40 hundredths. So the 100%, 140 is 1 and 4 tenths. Excuse me, 40 hundredths. Oh, interesting. So I said 4 tenths because if I have 1.40, I could also write 1.4. In fact, I think the 1.4 is the better way to write it because it's more simplified. So 1 and 40 hundredths is the same as 1 and 4 tenths. I don't need that 0, but that first, I put the 0 there because we had 40 hundredths. Okay? 0.02. Now let's think that through. First of all, it's going to be 0.2 over 100, right? 0.2 over 100. So that equals to tenths, hundredths. So I don't really need the 0. So it's 2 hundredths. And 2 hundredths is the same as, oh, okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. This is interesting. That doesn't, this here, this says 2 over 100. That would be 2%. This says 0.02%. So here, I actually have to write this. 0.02 over 100. Ah, that's a good one, okay? See, that says I have 0.02%. I don't even have 1% yet. 0.02 is 0.02 over 100. So if I multiply both of these by 100, this is going to take some thinking, right? Because one of the things I don't want to do is say to you, oh, you just move the decimal this way or that way this many times. I want you to think through the number. So let's see. Since this is tenths, hundredths, if I multiply this by 100, I'll have a 2. And you can try that on your paper. If I multiply 0.02 by 100, I'll just have a 2. If I multiply 100 times 100, let's see, I have 1 times 1 is 1, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, so I have 10,000, 100 times 100. And so if I were to write this just as a decimal, I will have 10 thousandths. Let's see, 0.10ths, hundredths, thousandths, 10 thousandths. So my 2 would go here, and I would need all of these zeros. Okay. So what I'm hoping is that you're thinking about these numbers rather than just moving the decimal forward or backwards. Okay. Just like I had to think about what that was actually saying. All right.
Hi, I'm Dr. Shelley Jones. I'm excited to announce the 1-year anniversary of my best-selling book, Women Who Count, honoring African American women mathematicians. Meet me on Sunday, September 13th at 2 p.m. to celebrate Women Who Count because representation matters. Stay tuned for a special panel discussion with mathematicians featured in the book, giveaways including a Katherine Johnson t-shirt, and activities from the book. Please register on Eventbrite for Women Who Count's 1-year celebration.